Ole, 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 ole. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to Barking for Balance, the podcast where we talk about dogs, but we also talk about anything else that's meant to teach, inspire, and entertain. And this episode, my friends, is a really, really special one. Not only are we celebrating Italy's win in the European Soccer Championships, but here is my boy, Jordan Kern, joining me as a co-host. What is going on, Jordan?
Oh my God, Pat, you are too kind, and I am happy to be here on the Barking for Balance podcast. Long time awaited, but finally, Viva Italia! I love the
Italia, yeah!
Viva Italia! Okay, football is back in the native land, and balance is restored to the people of Italy. I couldn't be happier. Not at all. Actually, 0% of me is a soccer fan, but a game like yesterday really makes me want to start.
Did you even watch it?
I did watch it. I jumped in right in the 83rd. We headed right to free kicks or penalty kicks, whatever they call them nowadays. Mm-hmm. And I was locked in, and then someone missed, and then someone made it, and it was beautiful, and then Italians won, and it was fine. And
so you really don't give a shit about the game? You just won the
not at all.
Like the fact that Italy won.
Yeah, I mean, the 50% of me, well, this is the thing. I'm 50% Italian. Okay. So half of me was excited. Half of me was, wow, let's go. And the other
What's the other half?
The other half of me is a nice blend of Scottish and English and all these other different blends.
So you were torn because it was Italy against England and Scottish, and those are all soccer teams.
I'm definitely a smudge of me is English. So I guess you could say no matter who won the game, I was going to win, but I'm happy for Italy nonetheless. Viva Italia.
For those of you guys that are watching over here, and you can see the both of us, of course, sexy Jordan's face, and even sexier, the Packman. By the way, I am Pat the Packman, in case you haven't seen this podcast before, and you got to watch it because we talk about all sorts of cool stuff, and Jordan is funny and cool and awesome, and we're going to have a bunch of laughs. But before we kick this off, you got to make sure you subscribe on all the podcast platforms, YouTube, if you want to see our faces, but also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and Spotify. Don't miss an episode of Barking for Balance, guys. It's going to be fun. And if you're watching us, I'm wearing my Italian soccer jersey because Forza Italia, yeah!
Yeah! Yes, and if you haven't liked and subscribed already, what are you doing? Get down there and do it. Happy to be back. Man. Yeah. I'm happy to be here with you. Your jersey looks beautiful, that crisp blue, and I couldn't be happy for you.
Actually, this jersey I bought when Italy won the World Cup in 2006 as a commemorative souvenir or whatever. And I think this is the first time that I'm ever wearing it, just FYI.
Very nice. Well, Hey, I mean, when in Rome.
Or in Wimbledon,
in Wimbledon or Wembley or wherever that thing was. It was exciting. It was happy.
Cool. It was cool. I mean, I'm not a huge soccer fan as I was when I was growing up in Italy, but, I still pay attention to my team. My team is Inter Milan, by the way. It's my Italian soccer team.
I have a quick question about soccer, if you don't mind. How does offsides work exactly? How does that happen? How does one become offsides?
I think it's an annoying rule that really disrupts the dynamic of the game. I don't know how they haven't abolished it, because it would be a lot more action, a lot more scoring if they did. But basically, it means that if you have like two players that are in line with each other, and the other opponent is behind that line, that means that it's offside. So it has to be in line, or, it basically the opponent can't be the closest one to the goal if the ball has not been kicked. So if the ball leaves like like a passer's foot, and as long as he's in line with the other players, then if he's fast enough, he could blow right through them, but until that point, the ball has to be in line. So it's a little annoying rule.
And that's the guy with the flag and the whisk.
Yeah, that's one of his duties.
The flag goes up when that happens.
That's one of exactly. That's cool. So
cool.
That's what, like I said, it's one of the rules that really annoys me, because it really kills the flow of the game. It'd be a lot more action, because that's one of the things that bores me about soccer now. That's why I'm more into football than soccer. And I just kind of still pay attention to my team, Inter Milan, but watching it gets a little tiresome. It's not like action-packed like football.
What is Inter Milan is the Italian team. This is the team that you grew up with. This is the team that you bonded with. This is the team that you've loved since day one.
Not since day one. Like when I first moved to Italy, I wasn't into soccer at all. And then, when I started making some friends, they kind of got me into it, and I picked Inter Milan. I'm not exactly sure why I picked Inter Milan at the time, but that was my team. They're black and blue colors, which is funny because actually this jersey happens to be with black and blue. But and we're going to talk about some football because I know you're a big football fan too. You know, what's up?
Yes. No. Now you're talking my game.
Yeah.
Football
now we're going to talk
football. This is the football that I am very familiar with.
Yeah. We have to talk a little bit about soccer, but not too much. So we're going to skip over that and get into like the real, the sport that I really have a passion for. But like, honestly, soccer is still a major part of my life. I mean, it's the sport that's like the most popular in the world, for crying out loud. So there's got to be some kind of value to it. But Inter Milan was my team. And then when I moved here, it's because of Inter Milan is why I became a Carolina Panthers fan. Because of the colors, black and blue.
Oh.
Yeah, I picked the color. I picked the Carolina Panthers because of the colors. I know.
I did not know that. That's why you are a Panthers fan. It's because of the color scheme.
When I went to college, I was following soccer, but at the time soccer was like extremely non-existent. So my friends were like, you got to get into like American sports. So I was like, all right, fine. And they were all into football. And they said, the first thing you got to do is you got to pick a team that you're a fan of. So I'm like, all right, fine. So what's the team that has black and blue colors? Because I based it on my other team, because I used to wear like black and blue all the time because I was like, supporting the team kind of thing. So I was like, what team is black and blue? And in 1995, the Carolina Panthers were just coming out and they said, there's this new team coming out, the Carolina Panthers.
Yes.
And their colors are black and blue. So I was like, fine, I'm a Carolina Panther fan. So I went out and I bought myself a jersey just to show my allegiance, right? I bought a baseball hat, just to show my allegiance. But if you were to ask me to name like one player on the team or what they did the week before, I would have no clue. I didn't even know like how the game worked.
Yes.
Like when they were talking about like a game and like one game ended with like 3 points. I'm like, how's that possible? Because at least I knew that it was 7 points was a touchdown.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of football is that a lot of people watch, don't quite understand the rules, but still find the beauty in it, still enjoy it for the game that it is. America's game and America's football. It's a beautiful thing. Anybody can gather around the fireplace. Family could turn on the TV. We could all watch a little fourth down, a little quarterback sneak. Maybe some people know what's going on. Maybe some people don't.
The Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl, that's a good one.
You also like baseball too, though, right?
Yes, I am a very big baseball fan. I love the New York Mets with a passion, and inside of me is blue and orange.
And does that transfer to basketball, blue and orange too, with the Knicks?
Not a big basketball guy. Never got into it. Got cut from my 8th grade team, and then freshman year.
So you're holding a grudge? Is that what you're saying?
Absolute mistake, Mr. Chris. If you're listening, I have not let that go. But yes, I got cut from all my teams.
Chris?
He was a taller gentleman who was the coach of the freshman basketball team, and they only cut 2 people out of 20 that tried out, and I made the cut, got cut, and didn't make the team. But nonetheless, maybe basketball wasn't meant to be. Was never a good dribbler, and I just never really stuck. But baseball, my game, been playing since I was a kid. Yes, I love the Mets. And I love the New York Jets.
Wait, so you would say your favorite sport is baseball, then football, or football, then baseball?
Tough because I love them both so much. But sometimes when one team is playing better than the other, my love, the percentages go up and down. It's a fluctuation of love. So right now, my Jets love is at an all-time low, but filling in the gap of 100% would be the Mets right now because the Mets are playing great baseball. 4.5 games ahead in NL East. No one can complain. We're scrapping together some wins.
Football season hasn't started yet.
Football season hasn't started yet, and I'm sure when that day comes, they'll even out again, and I'll be right back to football. And
but if you had to pick a sport, which one would be like at the top of your list? Not factoring in teams, nothing.
Probably baseball. I love baseball so much. It's such an interesting and beautiful game.
Above football.
I love football so much. It's very entertaining. But baseball, when it is entertaining, which is some of the time, is very, very entertaining.
Now we're talking watching, playing, or both?
I love to play, but I love to watch as well, which is very uncommon. People, often love to say they'd much rather go to a game than watch a game home on TV. I can level with that, but I, for one, I love watching baseball. I love enjoying and indulging on baseball, and it's it's different every time. It's like jazz.
So if you had to watch a game on TV, you would pick a baseball game above a football game?
I would pick a competitive end of the season regular baseball game in a tight race for the division for sure. Yeah.
No, not factoring in anything specific. Like if you're watching just any game whatsoever.
Yeah, I'd pick baseball.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
Wow. I wish I could talk baseball with you, but I find baseball to be a cure for insomnia.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, I understand it. It's for the sophisticated. It's for the fine dining. You need a taste.
What do you love about like baseball that you prefer it over like watching a football game?
It's incredibly difficult to hit a round little ball traveling at 100 miles an hour. With a baseball bat that is of the same width. It's a very incredibly difficult thing. It's very hard to do it. I feel like people can run and be physical and do that. I'm not trying to belittle football. I love football just as much, but I find there is a very unique skill set needed to perform at a major league level in baseball, and I find that marveling.
That's fair. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you find that exciting above like the excitement of like a football game?
Football is like a very different kind of exciting. It's a physical excitement. It like riles you up. It gets people aggressive. It gets people energized. Whereas baseball is not really like that. Baseball is a game of patience and grit and endurance and all those different kinds of athletic attributes that are not discussed enough, I feel, in football. Football is very like, stop and go. Baseball is as well. I'm not trying to conflate the two, but baseball is just a different kind of animal. But it's very funny that you mentioned that you're a Panthers fan and I'm a Jets fan. And these two teams have something very interesting in common with one another.
And what might that be?
We've traded quarterbacks. You've got our dirty laundry now. Good luck with him. He's a lost cause.
Come on, we're banging your ex-girlfriend. Don't be jealous.
Take her.
Listen. Someone's trash is somebody else's treasure. Don't forget that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think Sam is a very talented individual and he needed a change of environment. And I think Carolina is the perfect place for it. But not going to say those things come week one. Shouldn't even be saying them now, the true Jets fan that I am. Week one is very interesting because it is Panthers Jets in Carolina, a face-off of the old buck versus his old team versus the new buck.
It's going to be interesting, man.
It is going to be very interesting and one that I'm very excited for.
We got to make some plans to like get a big giant group together so we could fight each other at the end of the game, regardless.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That black and blue is going to extend up a little north. Okay. If you guys start beating us,
hey, listen,
I'm going to have to do the beating on you. Bad booted.
It's all right. We'll bring some Band-Aids to
Butira.
Keep the blood down.
So, Pat doesn't know this. I'm surprising him with this on the air, but in order to celebrate Italy's big win, I have written down 5 Italian phrases that I am going to try to speak to the best of my availability. And then Pat is going to recite it back to us. I concocted
Wait. Are you going to say them in English or are you going to say them in Italian?
I'm going to say them in Italian. Now, guys, I am Sicilian. I don't speak Italian fluently at all, but I try my best. I've been listening from my grandmother my entire life, but none of it has registered with me. I know bits and phrases and bits.
But on this podcast, we speak Sicilian quite a bit. So, you can learn some stuff. Parliamo siciliano.
Questo è il modo in cui si fa il formaggio.
Oh, hold on. Start that all over again. Get closer to that mic. I want to hear this.
Questo è il modo in cui si fa il formaggio.
Okay. You pronounce it a little bit Spanish-y.
Ooh. What does that mean, Pat?
Well, your accent at the end was a little more Spanish-y.
Okay.
You try to combine the two, which is cool.
Maybe.
But I got the point.
What did I say?
You said this is how you grate the cheese.
This is how the cheese is grated. Very nice. Awesome.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
Questo è il modo in cui si fa il formaggio.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
Nice. But yeah, no, I love football. I love the Jets.
That's it?
That's it.
So wait, you just brought up cheese. I am fucking starving because I don't know why. Every time I shoot these podcasts, I have to eat and I always forget. And then I'm starving. And then I un petito, it's so annoying And all of a sudden I start fantasizing about all sorts of foods, like especially with Italy winning, all sorts of like Italian specialty. One of my favorite happens to be arancine. Rice balls are my favorite. Speaking of which, have you ever had a rice ball?
Oh, mozzarella. Yes, I have had a delicious rice ball from Sergio and Co. Deli in Denville, New Jersey.
What about your grandmother? You said your grandmother's Sicilian. She never made rice balls?
Yeah, she makes them. It's not her stuff. She's a sauce lady. She's a sweet peppers kind of lady. She does all of the classic hits. Rice balls, I feel like, is a little bit foreign to her. She's made them. They're good, but we got a deli just down the block. They do everything au natural, and it is delicious. It is divine. It comes with a little cup of marinara.
What do they put inside of them?
I think it's just like rice, maybe a little ricotta, maybe a little bit of mousse, a nice coat
all right, let me stop you right there.
breading.
Let me stop you right there.
Oh boy.
What kind of words are you saying? Because you're speaking a foreign language right now.
Right. Yeah. I was just a blends of cheeses, of delicious cheeses.
What kind of cheeses? Because you mentioned two cheeses that I'm not very much aware of. What were they again?
It's a mozzarella is
okay.
the name of the one.
Right.
And the other one is ricotta.
Now I understand you.
Ricotta cheese.
Yeah, I thought I needed like one of those pocket translators or something.
Yeah, but they're big. They're not your regular rice ball size. They're almost the size of a softball.
Oh,
so
shit.
It's not a rice baseball. It's a rice softball. So you're really getting a bang for your buck. $5.95 a pound. Damn. Delicious. I highly recommend it. But they're great. They're lasting. Great flavor. Great crunch. I like a good crunch on my rice ball. I like it to be nice and crunchy. I like that coating of breaded crumbs of goodness to be nice. And if I was to snap it in half, it'd be like opening a coconut.
Oh, man.
Oh.
Mi sta facendo rapero petito. My mother makes amazing ones, and my brother-in-law makes great ones too. But the traditional Sicilian, there's two types. One of them that's stuffed with the chopped meat and peas.
Ooh.
And the other one that's like a bechamel sauce. It's got like, they think little chunks of ham, little chunks of mozzarella, and like this little like creamy sauce in it. And those are like in the shape of a pear. Those are actually really, really amazing, by the way.
What kind of diced meat goes in there?
Like chopped meat, just like regular, like a bolognese type sauce. Like meat sauce with peas and all that kind of good. So very, very simple and plain.
And what's the other kind?
So what?
The other kind of rice ball.
The other one is like a bechamel type thing. It's like a creamy sauce. It's got like little chunks of like ham. I think little chunks of mozzarella cheese in there too, if I'm not mistaken. That was not really my biggest one. The traditional one, that's the bomb. That's the bomb.
That's the one that's
delicious. That's the
delicious.
one that I just, oh my God, thinking of them balls is just making me want to, oh my God,
balls.
that didn't sound good the way I just said it, did
balls.
it? Thinking of them balls.
No, it didn't sound good. I am hungry, but also starving. And all this talk of rice balls and crunchiness has gotten me very, very hungry. With all
we're
cheeses.
gonna have to do some segments while we're eating and talking. And
speaking of balls, let's steer this back to being a dog. Tell me about dog balls. Do dogs have balls? Do dogs have balls?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that? Because all the dogs that have been in my house have had no balls yet.
What the hell are you talking about?
They don't have balls.
You have I hope you mean like they've been neutered, I'm assuming, right?
Is that what they call it? I have dogs that are ballless. They don't contain the rice balls. They are not there for whatever reason, which is confusing because they are gentlemen.
Okay. Well, they definitely have them. I mean, depending where you get them from, depending if you get a dog from like a rescue or whatnot, then they'll spay and neuter them for you. Spaying is like the female, they remove the female contraptions, and the males is the neutering where they remove the balls basically. This way they cannot reproduce.
And when you get a dog, sometimes they make you do this, right?
Yeah, most rescues actually make you do it. I mean, there's a lot of like variations. I don't know what you think, and you tell me about your opinion about it, but there's a lot of like different interpretations and misconceptions about the whole spay and neutering concept. And when it comes to it, the bottom line is that there's so much more value in getting it done, not just from the dog perspective, individual dog perspective, from a physical / behavioral component, but also just from a dog, or not just even dog, it's just animal population. Like that's why there's so many like cat rescues that are like trap cats to neuter them. This way they don't continue to reproduce, and you have like tons of kittens running around all over the place, so the concept of spay and neutering is super important. But when it comes to like the dog side, a lot of people just don't understand it or just don't give a shit. And the bottom line is that the value to it is tremendous. So like on the physical side, what ends up happening is like whether you're spay and neutering with male or female, there are studies that say that they're more prone to cancer in those particular areas if you don't spay or neuter them, early.
Really? That's why?
Supposedly, yeah, that's the case. I mean, from a behavioral standpoint, it's a fact that it's a problem, because you got to remember that, and this is the behavioral side exclusively that I like to focus on. But again, the whole big picture is really what I think people need to be, really educated on, is dogs go through the different stages of life. So after that 8-month mark, they're no longer puppies, they're adolescents, right? So at that adolescent stage, you've been there, you start to have urges, and then you transition into the teenage stage and those urges intensify. So
time
people
to reproduce,
they gotta like do their thing. So dogs, they mate twice a year. So if they are not having those needs met, then they become frustrated, especially the males. They just become frustrated because they're not getting those urges released.
right?
So they tend to become aggressive. They tend to become destructive because they're finding a way to just get rid of all that pent up frustration. Wow. They're frustrated ponies. You know what I mean? Hey, they want to do a little bingity, bingity, bingity. You know what I mean?
Hey, we've all been there. We've all been at that stage where, you get a little bit frustrated and you just want to punch and you want to kick and you want to punch someone or maybe a wall. We've all been there. Everybody's been frustrated every now and then. But I'm confused. So removing the balls then takes away that desire to, that desire of relief, that kind of sort of thing.
Yeah, because they don't have those urges. The hormones, the testosterone doesn't fluctuate. So it's gone.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why, like if you're dealing with a dog who's older and then you get them neutered, by the time like they're aggressive, their brain is already stabilized at that point. So now their habits are already in place. So what I always tell people is, let's lower that testosterone level. Let's lower those habits. Let's get that brain in a different state of mind. Then you do a little snip. And now there's no building up again. Because if your goal, and a lot of like people, men in particular, they feel like it's just disrespectful to the dog, like they perceive it like from a manly perspective, you cut off their balls, and it's different. From a dog perspective, it calms them down. It prevents them from, again, developing those issues. So it has nothing to do with any kind of like, ego or machismo or any of that kind of shit. But the bottom line is that if you don't want to do it, not factoring in, if you don't care about the physical and you have no intentions of breeding your dog,
right,
then you got to make sure that this dog is exhausted. So you got to put in the time, because that's the only way that he's not going to like want to, again, release those urges.
Right.
He's just too tired. He's going to go to bed.
Right.
Like somebody's wife who just says like, I'm too tired. I have a headache and I just want to go to sleep.
So the removal, though, of those very crucial, hormones and balance and things that are going on inside of a dog's body that have been going on the same exact way for such a long time, that has gotten the animal that we see today, right? All this evolution and everything. How does, by removing all of those, things, right? All those appendages to some dogs and animals, how does that not mess up with their development, with their behavior, with everything like that? How does that like keep an even-keeled dog? You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that totally alter everything about them, the psycho imbalance, chemical imbalance, or anything like that?
Doesn't impact them at all. Actually, it benefits them. Again, is because it removes something that they don't have to worry about, or they don't have to, their instincts aren't being triggered by. Because you got to remember, the instincts are simple. It's eating, sleeping, finding shelter, reproducing. That's really all they got.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, they need a need to fulfill, to feel fulfilled, to do something productive mentally and or physically. This kind of just cuts it off, no pun intended. Right. It just cuts it off altogether. And there's like these new wave of doing things now, because back in the day, it used to be at the 6-month mark is when you get your dog or pet. I mean, I'm not exactly sure if the cat world works the same.
Yes.
But you neuter and spay at the 6-month mark. Now there's these new ways of doing things and new ways of thinking where it's, you let them go through their first cycle, you let them do this and that and the other thing. I'm not a big believer in that. I'm an old school kind of guy. I like to do these old school ways because, again, once they transition into the different stage, the body changes, the hormones change. But I've never seen any, like, both of my dogs were spayed and neutered when they were 6 months. There's been no physical issues, like some bigger dogs, they say, like Cane Corsos or Rottweilers or whatever, neuter them when they're like 8 months to a year. So this way the bones develop. Listen, Sox is a pit bull. He was spayed and he was neutered earlier. There is no bone or muscular issues whatsoever. So, the benefits of it is, it creates a calmer state because, again, it prevents those excited urges.
Yes.
Again, that's the good word to use, is urges. You're a guy, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I'm a guy,
yes,
we're not going to talk about that. Otherwise we have to put like a different rating on this episode, but
that's exactly right.
But, we understand what we're saying. And by preventing that, it doesn't allow them to go into those modes of frustration is the best way I could explain it.
Right. And the for the female dogs and even cats, how does that work? I can imagine the boys, it's a very simple process because everything is right in view. But do you know how that works exactly for the female dogs? Is that more of an in-depth kind of procedure to have that completed?
I think it's basically the same thing, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure the technicality. I can tell you from my personal experience. The only female dog that I've had is Pepper, and she was done not with the incision. She was done with the laparoscopy, whatever the hell it's called. It's basically like the laser. So I'm assuming they remove whatever needs to be removed.
Cool.
But it was done via the laser, so maybe it was burnt off or something. I'm not exactly sure. I do know that the recovery stage of that was considerably less than whether it was done through, the traditional incision method. Just as effective. Again, she's as healthy as a horse, no issues. So I don't think that there was a problem with it. There's actually a lot of organizations that are that help people because obviously it's, it costs money to get it done. So there's organizations that do it because that's how important it is. And it's not just, and I want to hear your opinion on this too, Jordan. It's not just the specific, like I said, the individual dog itself. Do you have any experience with like spay and neutering stuff? Speaking of which,
I do know that the only dog that we have, Bo, we took him to go and get his procedure done, and he came back the same day, and everything was fine, and he had to wear a cone for about a week. But now it's very funny. Now, this is a little weird. He's a white dog, so everything kind of stands out against his white fur and everything. But if you look in that spot, there's like a little kind of green mark, like someone with a Sharpie just like wrote a little line right there. And I'm assuming that's must have been where the procedure took place.
Yeah.
But I remember it to be a pretty seamless thing, and he didn't seem to know what was up. In terms of how I stand on it, I understand both sides. But what is sad, I feel, is dogs get better with time, and with time your love for dogs grows, and it grows and it grows. After a couple of years with a dog, befriending a dog and loving a dog, sleeping with a dog, all the things that people do with dogs, you have such an affinity for this animal. At least for me, this is how I feel, that I look at my dog and I go, you would be such a great father.
Be what?
I say, to my dog, you would be such a great father. And I'm so sorry that this is the way that the world is, and you are denied that opportunity. You, my friend, you have given me so much joy in my life, and I only want to give you the opportunity to then go to your children and give them the same thing.
Now, when you say this is
with my dog,
this is how the world is. What do you mean?
Like, in terms of what the appropriate thing to do is, what is socially acceptable, because God
is it
forbid
socially acceptable, or is it just because of like irresponsible people that are kind of causing that?
Right. I understand that. I understand the health benefits and everything that goes into it. If they say that it's gonna let my dog live, 5-6 years longer than he naturally would have, then that's totally fine, and that's more time I get to spend. But at least I feel like it is kind of a denial of evolution. These animals were made to reproduce. They were made to mingle and do what these, because they were wild animals at one time. We have dociled these, and I don't know if that's a word, but we have definitely domesticated. These animals to our lives. So they're adjusting with us every generation. So I feel like, you know, I have mixed opinions about it both. But again, I already see other dogs, friends' dogs, family dogs that are just the most amazing creatures you've ever met.
Yeah.
Like you would be, they would be such good fathers to a rut of pups. I would love to have a bunch of little bows running around my house.
Yeah.
I love that boy and I want some more of him.
Yeah. I kind of agree with you 100%. The problem that I have with it is not the socially acceptable part. It's the human responsibility part.
Yeah.
Because people utilize that in an irresponsible fashion. And, you know, again, you're not in the rescue world. So there's two components to it. First of all, it's the irresponsible mating for money purposes, right?
What do you mean?
Like people will mate dogs just to make money.
Oh, wow.
It's not like what you were talking about where the way you were describing, like, for example, socks, my boy's socks. There is nothing more than I would love is to take that gene pool and create more sockses.
Right. Yes.
Nothing more than I would love that. But, you know, now I have all these puppies. I have to do something with them. That's fine. I keep them all. I continue the gene population of the socks. That's one thing.
Right.
The problem that most people utilize this for is for money.
Right.
So it's all about the money. So they make the money.
Right.
The other part of it is the overpopulation of it, because again, it goes back to people being irresponsible. You don't see as much of the bad stuff that I do with all the rescue organizations that I'm affiliated with. The amount of like dumped puppies and kittens too, just overload, dumped. If there was some kind of like a control system to not like overdo it, overpopulate, then it would be a different story.
Right.
But without it, it would just be like overkill.
It's very interesting because we live in a world where the puppy or the kitten is a sought after item all over social media, all over everywhere. People love to put little pictures of sweet little kittens and little puppy boys and laying down and having all the puppies lick your face and everything. People want that. People yearn for that. The amount of people who would cut off their left hand just to have like a kitten of their own or something they've been denied for a long time. But on the flip side, in this country, that there's such an overwhelming amount of these things that are just cast aside. They're just dumped. They're left on the side of the road or whatever they do. But meanwhile, there's thousands, if not millions, of people who would die for these creatures and give them all the love and joy they need. It's incredible. It's very sad, honestly. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that there was, that the dog populations were flourishing and that there's this abundance for puppies that are just cast aside like that.
Yeah, because again, you got these people that don't spay and neuter their pets. They bring them together. And again, their instincts are to do that. I mean, that's just what they do. But also you got to remember, they're not like humans where they create like one. They create like 8.
Yes.
And then they'll mingle with each other too. So it just, the population just explodes. And it's sad because, people have that and they'll just toss them in the street. I mean, I'm not even going to get into it because it's just very pathetic, but
not good.
Yeah. And no, it's not good at all.
Don't want to talk about that.
No. And,
not
but
good.
it's pathetic, where it's just a little bit of snips and you move on. And one of the other issues is like, and I talk about this on a previous podcast about, rescuing or buying. I'm not a believer either one. If you have a specific type of dog, even though there's specific rescues that cater to a specific breed. I mean, I just found out the other day, one of my clients is a white German Shepherd fan, and she doesn't want to buy one. She wants the rescue one. And I'm like, I don't, you could go to a German Shepherd rescue. I actually found 2 German Shepherd rescues that specialize in white German Shepherds.
What?
I was shocked myself. I had no idea. White German Shepherd specifically. So you could find rescues that specialize in any kind of breed. But if you want to go to like a specific breeder for a particular dog, I'm not against it, but you got to go to a breeder that respects the dog and respects the breed. Most people go to like the Amish, for example. The Amish are just puppy mills. They're just churning puppies, churning for money. And then they take the mother and the father, dump them to a rescue. And those dogs, I've worked with a few of these dogs. Their trauma, their psychological trauma is just shocking.
Wow.
It's just sad. You just want to cry when you see in what conditions these guys are in. And the puppies don't come out, it takes a little bit of time. Pet stores, same thing. They come from puppy mills. So I'm not against going to, I'm not against buying a dog. Not at all. But you just got to do it with those people that are not doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Like I work with a client who has a French bulldog, and at one point French bulldogs, I don't know if that's still the case, but they were on the rage. Like almost every single phone call I was getting was about a French bulldog. And one of my clients bought a French bulldog. I'm not even going to tell you how much they paid for him, but they bought him from this guy who's just some guy in his backyard, neighbor, and he used to breed pit bulls, which I don't understand how that even worked. You breed pit bulls, but whatever.
Whoa.
He decided he was going to breed French bulldogs because he could make a shit ton more money breeding French bulldogs. And this dog, God only knows what the other ones were, but this dog has medical problems like you can't even imagine.
Oh my God.
Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars per month. And this dog is, and they just will not give up. They will not give him up. They're just fighting through it, and God bless them. But that's a rarity with this amount of money and this amount, and people treat it like a commodity. Like they'll bring them back, and I want another one, and it's like you just bought a pair of shoes or something. You know what I mean? It's sad.
I would love to talk to a doctor who like deals with that. Like, how hard does it have to be a vet? You go to school for how long, and then you work at a hospital like that, and then you have these dogs that come in that are just complicated. They're complicated from the get-go.
Yeah.
Nothing that natural medical examination can solve or any kind of medication can solve. It's just the interbreeding or the crossbreeding or all the things that go on in those kind of puppy mills that creates very unfortunate circumstances for some types of dogs. Yep. And buyer beware, like you had said, to all those people out there who are willing to pay an arm and a leg to buy a dog. Just like you said, I think the important thing to take away from your spiel is buyer beware. Do your research, do your back study, make sure that where you're going is a reliable place and that they know what's up and they do it right and by the book. And that everything checks out, and it's not just some.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to getting like mixed breeds. Like the new wave is like everything is mixed with like they're called designer dogs, which is basically they're super expensive mutts. I mean,
really
like golden doodles. I'm sure you've heard them of golden doodles, labradoodles. Like they're designer breeds. You buy them at with a breeder. They're basically mixed breeds, and I have nothing against them. But it's this new American fad that's been created where these are the dogs that used to be found at a shelter because they were just mutts.
Right.
Now they're becoming this new, we're creating this new species, this new
niche. People like it. It's bougie to get a golden doodle. I've seen
like you have mini golden doodles, regular size golden doodles, giant golden doodle. Like this is just all over the place.
Right.
And again, I'm not against it per se, but it's manipulating the breed. It's manipulating the dogs, because like mixed breeds, you could get good, healthy dogs that are mixed as opposed to like a purebred that has inherent issues. Like German Shepherds, for example, are prone to hip dysplasia. You get a German Shepherd that's mixed with something else, it lowers that hip dysplasia thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's a lot of benefits to it. And to be honest, when you're spay and neuter, you're saving lives because you're not, creating more and more dogs. That's why rescues and shelters, you're mandated when you adopt a dog from them to make sure that either they do it for you, or because some shelters are so strict that even if a dog is like, even before the 6-month mark, like 2, 3, 4 months, they'll spay and neuter him before they even give him to you.
Right.
They just don't trust people to do it.
So then how, if they do it like that, then how are people able to still get dogs that can breed and like have those puppy mills and everything? How do they get those dogs? If everywhere you can get them, they force you to get them spayed and neutered.
You buy them, I mean, if you're rescuing a dog, normally you can't, because you're going to get them and you're going to be, again, mandated to do it. Like legally, they'll have a kind of contract by this month. You have to have it done or whatever.
Right.
It's
not cheap. It's not cheap to get that done either, right? It's like $400, $500, $600.
Yeah, but again, there's also organizations that help with that. So you could go like these places and you can get it done for free. Some places even for free, or some places even for like a considerable amount less money. So there's ways around it where it can save you money.
Oh, cool.
I don't know if insurance has covered that. I'm not sure, but there's ways around it, you know, but yeah, so it's a huge benefit to the animal population. Again, you see, see all these kittens running around, just spay and neuter the cats. People do that. That's what these rescues do. They trap and neuter and spay the cats, and then they release them and they're back in the wild. They're back in the wild, but at least they're not, procreating. How the hell did we get into this from rice balls, by the way?
I don't even know. I think we made the connection from balls with rice in them to balls with no rice in them. And we just made that quantum leap, and then we got all down the rabbit hole. But all the things you said are so interesting. I feel like, we talk about dogs, or just people regularly talk about dogs, but like no one really talks about spayed and neutering. Like I honestly didn't even know how that worked or at all.
It's a big deal. That's why like a lot of rescues and shelters, they consider you or anybody, who what do you call it? Spays and neuters a pet. They consider you a hero, because like if you spay and neuter one dog, you have saved like thousands of dogs within a 1 year period. So they could call you like, you're like a hero to them, because there's so many people that are against it, that the few that are willing to do it, that are willing to put their ego aside, they look at you like a hero, like a superhero. You know what I mean? So we're all superheroes here.
We're all superheroes. Mentioning hero, I have a phenomenal story about dogs and heroism that I would like to share, not only with you, but all the people who are listening to the podcast.
And before you get to that, guys, Jordan's going to be on quite a few more episodes of this podcast. So make sure you subscribe.
Yes.
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, and on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out. Barking for bounds, guys.
What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Go and do it already. If you're on YouTube, then subscribe. And if you're on Spotify, then do whatever Spotify will let you do to stay here and to follow, or I don't even know what it is, but do it.
And this is a little bit of a serious episode. We're not having like a bunch of like banter and jokes and stuff going on. This was like a very, very, PBA or PBS or whatever the hell that shit was called.
That's right.
Public service announcement.
We're all different speeds. Sometimes we're going 75 down the freeway, and sometimes we're taking the back roads. Sometimes we're stopping a little too long at stop signs. We're taking our time. We're looking left and right twice. We're taking, it is what it is. Okay. But stay along and you'll enjoy the ride. Now, you just said hero. All this talk about heroism and everything. So yes, I have an amazing story about a dog and being a hero and all that jazz. So
this spay and neuter related or not at all?
Has nothing to do with spayed or neutering of any sort. Okay. So my dad's girlfriend, right? She has a dog named Adobo. Adobo is adobo, like after the spice, right? So she was actually adopted from the Philippines as an infant, right? And adobo is like the native spice or something. It's like very popular in the Philippines. So she named him after the spice that everybody puts on their meats.
But we don't know what adobo is, obviously.
We don't know what adobo. Well, adobo is a spice.
No, I'm talking about the dog adobo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's like brown. He's like a Rottweiler, like a pit bull mixed with something else. Like, I don't even know exactly what it is, but
he's on the bigger side.
He's on the, no, not that big. He's like maybe like 1.5 foot tall, 2 feet tall. I don't know how to measure dogs. He's like a regular sized dog. He's really good. And he's a little bit older now. So he's past his prime. But I think it was just about maybe like 7 years ago, he was on a hike with Lydia's son, Mike, and his father, Mike's father.
Lydia is your father's fiance.
Yes. No. Her actually ex-husband at the time.
Oh.
They were on a hike.
And but Lydia is your father's fiance, though.
Yes.
Got it.
They were on a hike around Split Rock. And there were a couple other friends there. And all these guys are Boy Scouts, and they're just going on a hike. Anyway, so they're walking through the woods. And Mike's dad actually sees a cave that he had once gone in when he was a kid, right? He had grown up in the area. He had been into this cave many a times as a kid, scurrying down in there and looking around and things like that. So he wanted to go and explore the cave. So Adobo's there, the kids are there. So he goes up to the cave while the kids are down below, and he crawls in just like old times. And all of a sudden there was actually a bear in that cave that got a hold of him and
got a hold of who?
Got a hold of Mike's father, actually. So he was in the cave with the bear, and so there's a little bit of struggle, and he was in there for a little bit.
When you say got a hold, like literally got a hold?
Oh my, there was a bear.
Wait, who's Mike? That was Lydia's ex-husband.
Mike is Lydia's son.
Oh, okay.
Mike, her youngest son. She has
How
two
old?
children. He, at the time, he must have been 11 or 12 or 13. And excuse me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah. So they were on a hike around Split Rock, and it was so one adult and like 4 kids that are all like 11 or 12 on a hike. And there was a bear. He didn't know it was in there, but I guess since his younger days as a kid going into this cave, right, things had changed, and this bear had found a new home in this cave.
Oh, fuck.
Right? I know. So, and it was like a black bear, like really intense. So the kids are down below and they see this happen, and they're freaking out. Obviously,
they actually watched it happening.
He like had walked up a hill and they were down below on the trail still. I wasn't there again, so I may get this all wrong. This is just what's been told to me. Anyway, so he gets pulled into this cave, right, with this bear.
Pulled into. Oh my God.
And the whole time the kids are freaking out. They're trying to figure out what to do. Adobo is kind of just looking around like, like you said, he's always looking for people's energy. He doesn't know what to do. Anyway, so 30 minutes go by, 40 minutes go by. The kids have, they don't have a cell phone. They have no one to call. They're kind of like a mile down this hike, kind of like stranded, right? And there's no one really walking by. It's kind of like a remote area out here on Split Rock Reservoir. If you've ever been to Split Rock Reservoir in Rockaway, it's huge, right? So there's all these trails to walk and everything. So they're really out there and they don't know what to do. So the boys actually get together and to try to create a fire, try to create some smoke so that somebody can see them, or maybe if they get a hold of someone, or if someone walks by, someone can see the smoke.
And Mike were in the cave.
But the bear and Mike's father were in the cave. Yes, okay. For all of this time. Whether it would be fighting or I don't know what the bear was doing.
Nobody knew what the hell was going on.
No one knew what was going on. People, I guess you could hear, again, I wasn't there, but I guess you could maybe hear what was going on, but the situation was tense, obviously. So the boys get together and try to create a fire, right? Okay. All the meanwhile with Adobo. So they're all looking down at the ground, right? While they're trying to create a fire, while Mike is down there trying to create a fire, and Mike's father is actually in the cave with the bear. So everybody's freaking out, obviously. Anxiety is at an all-time high. They don't know what to do. All of a sudden, so they're down looking at the ground, trying to create a fire, and the bear emerges out of the cave. And they're like maybe 20 or 30 feet away from the kids. Now, Adobo, right, the dog, sees this bear and runs up to him and starts freaking out, starts barking and going crazy and not attacking the bear, but like staying far enough away to just scare it. So the bear ran away straight up the hill, out of sight, out of mind. And anyways, by this time, they had ended up getting a phone and a call, and they actually ended up getting the paramedics in there to rescue him and pull him out. And he actually got airlifted out of there to the hospital. Luckily today, he is A-okay. Everything is fine.
Was he
maybe
injured?
Just has a couple marks. He was definitely in the hospital for a couple weeks. He had, I guess he had some lacerations and some cuts, and I'm not really quite sure, but he is totally cool as a cucumber today, and he is totally fine. And it's merely just a story. But at the time, it was just
what about Mike's father? He wasn't injured?
No, Mike's father was the one who was in the cave, so he was injured.
Oh,
Mike was the one who was down there with the kids and the dog. Yeah, so it was the dad who had crawled up into this cave that he had gone into as a child, growing up in the same area. So he was the one who was injured. He had lacerations and stuff. So the father, gets airlifted out of there to the nearby hospital, and he ends up being okay. He's, they cover him bandages and the doctors and everything. Now, the moral of the story.
When was this, by the way?
This was like 6 or 7 years ago. This is a while ago. Yeah, this is quite a bit ago. Yeah, and I remember hearing about it. Everybody, it was incredible. It was an incredible story. But luckily, Mike's father ended up making it out totally, like, he's fine now. Obviously, at the time he was injured and he had to go to the hospital and airlifted out of there. But today he is totally fine.
Scars?
Now, yeah, I'm assuming so. Definitely scars on his chest and cuts and things like that. The great part of the story, though, is that after all this chaoticness had ensued, Lydia ends up getting back with Adobo, and the boys had since come back and were picked up at the police station and had told the whole story of what had happened and Adobo's role and how he really scared away this bear, kind of got it to run away from the whole scene, that they could get people in there to rescue Mike's father, who was in the cave, and to inevitably save the situation. So Channel 2 News or ABC News or someone comes to Lydia's house, actually her friend's house, where she was at the night that this all happened. And they wanted an interview and they wanted to hear the story and everything. So they actually ended up wanting to put Adobo, the dog at the time, on the broadcast, right? To say, hey, the heroic dog, how he saved the day and he did all this and he barked, scared away the bear, and he's the hero. He is truly the hero. Adobo was the hero dog who saved the day for these boys.
Put a cape on his ass. Absolutely.
Yes. So Channel 2 News is getting all ready, and Lydia pulls the news lady aside and says that, Adobo can appear on TV only under one condition. And that one condition is that I'll tell you the whole story, how Adobo played into it and how he was the hero dog, only if you plug 11th hour animal rescue in your broadcast to have people chirp about it and talk about it, because that is where she got Adobo from. So she really wanted to somewhat pay it forward that, yes, he's the hero dog. You want to make an example out of my dog. You want to praise my dog for everything he did. Why don't you plug how I got him in the first place, so that maybe people in the future could get their Adobo, that maybe they could find their hero who would save their day, because he's this amazing dog who did all this amazingness for us.
And he was a rescue dog too.
And he was a rescue dog, 11th hour rescue. It's a beautiful, I
work with 11th hour.
They're amazing. That's how Lydia got Adobo. That's actually how we got our dog, Bo. And they're great. They were very, very precise about doing background checks and making sure that everything checked out, and making sure that Bo and Adobo both got neutered, and everything that we had to do. They were very on top of us. So shout out to 11th hour. You guys are the best. I've never met anyone personally, but the things I hear from them are absolutely flawless. So if you're thinking about a dog and you're thinking about adopting a dog,
but you know what? Let's shout out all the other animal rescues that do great work.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm not trying to highlight 11th hour. They're one of a dozen that are absolutely amazing. So yes, if you're thinking about adopting, definitely do your research, but 11th hour is phenomenal. And Channel 2 News actually ended up telling Lydia that they can't guarantee plugging Channel 2 News. So Lydia said, you know what? Fuck you then. And then she took Adobo, and he wasn't on the TV broadcast, and no one talked about it ever. But the town actually, at the next town hall, after this all had taken place, the mayor of the town actually invited Adobo down to the town hall meeting, where they presented him with a medal and a plaque, granting him Hero Dog of the Year of Boonton Township.
So Lydia specifically wanted not Adobo to be featured, but she wanted 11th hour to be featured onto the story,
right? Because that's how she got Adobo to begin with. And
so what we're gonna do, Jordan?
What are we gonna do?
We're gonna do that for her.
Wow.
So we're gonna talk to our team, and we're gonna make sure that 11th hour specifically. Now, I'm not taking away any benefits from all the other rescues, because they all do great work. They're all kind of like up there. God bless them all. But in this specific case, because Lydia and Adobo were denied that privilege, we will officially we can't sponsor them, because whatever, but we will highlight and showcase 11th hour on the posting of this specific podcast episode.
Wow.
We will even post it on their Facebook page. We will highlight them on every platform we possibly can. And that's what we're going to do for Adobo, who saved the day. And we're also going to do that for Lydia, who tried to take away from her own personal, took away from her own personal expectations, and she wanted to do something beneficial. And God bless, that's awesome. And unfortunately, she was denied. So, 7 years later, we're going to do that for her and for them. God bless Adobo. God bless Lydia. God bless 11th hour. God bless also all rescue organizations. And of course, thank God that this all worked out for the best.
Absolutely. No, that is an amazing plug. Yes, 11th hour is amazing. And I had to get that right. But when Lydia threw in that little detail at the end, I was not sure. But when I heard that she wanted to plug 11th hour just to get them the publicity that they need and deserve, because they're a great organization, I was like, wow, like that is such an amazing part of the story.
Yeah, I mean, 11th hour really didn't do anything special about this, but you know what? The fact that they provided this dog to Lydia and she wants to utilize that opportunity, I think that's amazing. And we're going to do that for her.
Shout out Lydia. Shout out Adobo. Shout out everybody. Yes, absolutely. 11th hour. Check them out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the beauty of dogs, man. Heroics. We throw that in the mix too. What are dogs too? They're heroes.
Yes,
they're heroes.
Yes.
Man.
And now Adobo, when he goes to eat every single day, when he has his dinner, right above his food bowl is the plaque that says Adobo, hero dog of Boonton Township, and like 20, 14, whatever the year was.
That, man.
It's
amazing.
Granted,
he doesn't have a clue, nor does he give a shit. But
No, he has no idea.
But it's all good. We're gonna
fond memory in his owner's eyes, definitely.
Exactly, and you can't forget that memory. That's a freaking important. That's a great story, man.
Yeah, It is
Thank
crazy.
you for
It's a
sharing that story,
wild,
Dre. Thank
wild
you for
story.
Lydia.
Absolutely. Yeah. Shout out Lydia. I had to get her permission to share this story. But
Well,
yeah,
thank
no,
you,
it's a,
Lydia, for sharing that story. That's amazing.
of course. Yes. Hero dog adobo.
Adobo, yeah, heroics, man. You know, it's funny
Adobo.
because when we're talking about like heroics, you know, growing up, my whole thing, which is really, it's funny how you talk about heroics and it just popped in my mind. Like this is why, like, you know, this whole dog journey, working with dogs and training people, because after all, it's about training people, not training dogs, because
That's right.
dogs already know what to do, man.
That's right.
I mean, no, did anybody train him how to do that shit?
No.
No, he did it on his own. He knew what he had to do to protect his pack and protect his family. You know
Right.
what I mean? We have to train people in order to make dogs happy and fulfilled and make them happy and make them whole and give them what it is that they want and need so that they could provide us what we want and need. That's why it's about training people, not training dogs. And, you know, growing up my whole life, you know, being insecure and unsure and nervous and anxious and just being like shy and whatever, you know, I used to fantasize a lot and used to like watch, you know, shows and TV shows and movies. And I used to like pretend that I was those characters. Like, you know, this was before your time, Jordan, but like the A-Team and Knight Rider, you know, those are like my two favorite TV shows. And then movies like, you know, like the Karate Kid and, you know, like old school Superman, or like, as you know, Captain America, you know, pretending, fantasizing about being those characters, about being a hero to save the day, is really, you know, what I used to want to be and what I wanted to do, because I couldn't do it on my own. Like I wasn't that, you know, I was the victim all the time. You know what I mean? You know, I needed somebody to be the hero for me. So I would try to make myself feel better by pretending that I was a hero type. And, you know, that whole vision of wanting to be a hero, wanting to save lives kind of thing, materialized finally when I got involved with dogs, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, because like I can't tell you how many cases that I've worked with of dogs that have been in a position where they're going to get put down, you know, they're going to get returned, or they're just suffering mentally and psychologically. And, you know, they've worked with other professionals. We won't get into that. We'll talk about that on another topic, another episode. But you know, I come in and all of a sudden, like, oh, this dog was about to get put down and now he's okay. And this dog was about to get returned and now he's okay. And this dog has been suffering and now he's okay. And so my ability to save lives working with dogs actually finally came true. You know, I mean, granted, it's saving dogs' lives as opposed to people's lives, like in the movies. But at the end of the day, like, saving lives is saving lives. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Definitely.
But it's
So
funny.
did
I'm
you
sorry.
find inspiration from these people that you idolize, from Kid the Knight Rider and Karate Kid? Like what were you getting the most from all these people that you were idolizing so much?
I don't know if I was getting anything out of it as much as like my desire to want to help and basically just to help, like to help people in general, like to help people, whatever it was, to solve a problem, to better their lives, to whatever the case may be.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, it was saving their lives and all that kind of shit. But it was really just helping people, which is what I love to do. I've always wanted to do that. And by doing this, it finally came true, even though, like I said, 99.9% of the time, it's saving the life of a dog. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm involved also with, like, you know, the cat community. So it's saving lives of the animals that are in need is really, you know, it's kind of like being a super. That's why when I named the company Packman to the rescue and I made the logo a superhero, it was because it was finally taking that fantasy and making it a reality. Right. But it's funny because, like, as much as I always talk about, you know, it's saving the life of a dog or saving the life of an animal, there was one specific case that I remember that actually was saving the life of a human. And it was a case that of a lady who I used to call her the crazy lady, because she was just she scared me at first. She used to call me at like all hours of the night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and she needed help. And to make a very long story short, she had a pit bull who was terrified. And this dog was terrified of everything, but especially of her upstairs neighbor, who, when he would just casually walk across on the floor, she would cower and drool and just shake and not eat for days at a time. That's how terrible. And I'm not talking about like stomping. I'm talking about just casually just walk across the floor. And she was just like freaking out. I need help. I need help. I need help. You know, this dog is like this and this. And she would call me at all hours of the night. And I'm like, all right, you need to calm down. And then finally, when I met with her the first time when we spoke, I realized that she had some, you know, some problems. And one of the problems that she had for whatever took place in her life that kind of left her traumatized was that she had some like PTSD of some sort, but she had like major psychological issues. And whatever, you know, caused that stuff, because it was like experiences. It wasn't just like inborn, it was stuff that had happened to her that made
Wow.
her be this way. She
Cool.
had tried to commit suicide 7 times.
Whoa.
Yeah. And the last time was, I think, like a month or two before, you know, we even met. So I kind of felt bad after. I was like, yeah, this is the crazy lady, but you know,
Right. Right.
and then we met. And so we started working on her and her dog. And basically what we came to discover, which, you know, is common knowledge, was that her nervousness and her fears were projecting onto her dog, and her dog was just projecting those right back to her. So
Wow.
she was always fidgety and worried. And what she would do is she would always see the worst outcomes coming out of any situation. Again, what happened to her, I'm not sure. But whatever situation she was always in, she always saw the worst outcomes taking place, even if it was something simple. It was just over dramatic. So I taught her what I call TV therapy, which is basically like, you know, our minds work as a TV, right? We're watching images projected of a certain situation playing out. I'm sorry, a certain outcome playing out from a specific situation. So if you see an outcome playing out that's good, then you feel good. If you project an outcome, if the outcome is negative, then you're going to feel bad about it. So dogs don't understand what's going on. They just know how you feel. Now, the images that you're seeing of, let's say, like you're walking down the street and you get mugged and you see a guy coming towards you and you imagine this guy, you know, putting a knife to your throat and, you know, taking your wallet or whatever you're imagining. It's not real. It's fiction. It's just what the movie that's playing in your head.
Right.
Right. But what you're feeling from that movie is real. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Mm.
So the dog, your dog is feeding off of that projection. Like that's the outcome that they're feeding off of. So the reality is bullshit. I'm sorry, the image is bullshit, but the feelings are real.
Right.
And your dog is feeding off of that. So that's what they're becoming, because dogs are like our mirror. They mirror what we feel, right?
Mm.
So this dog was an insecure, nervous dog, and she functioned as this lady's emotional support dog. So this dog wasn't confident and stable enough to handle that job. Plus, you know, the human was just so like fragile that they were like two peas in a pod. They were like
Yeah.
misery loves company kind of
Right.
situation.
Right. Right.
So again, I taught her to work on what I call TV therapy, which is as soon as you see these negative emotions, you're watching the horror channel, you change the channel to something else, the happy channel, the calm channel, the funny channel, whatever, right? So the outcome, the images you see playing out are creating a different emotion, right? From
Right.
bad to good.
Right.
And it changes the emotion also from bad to good. So now your dog is
Whoa.
feeding off of that.
Ah, very
Make sense?
interesting. Yeah, no, it makes sense.
And now that takes time and takes practice. And I remember distinctly, like this was just yesterday. In fact, it's gonna bring tears to my eyes. But I remember when I went to meet with her, the you know, like when this started to like really come together, and she greeted me at the door in such a way that she was smiling. She was just gleeful and joyful and happy and just like her emotions were just amazing.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, Pat, you know, that whole TV therapy thing at work, links in, I gotta tell you all about it. And she was like telling me all about this. She's like, my family's been seeing me, and they's like, so they're so happy. And I look more confident. And by the way, you know, even I forget the dog's name, we'll call her Lucy. Lucy has been great, even when the guy's walking across, and she's been calmer, and I've been happier, and I've been calm. In fact, I remember this line so distinctly. In fact, my therapist said, you know, I need to fire you because you've done such a great job rehabilitating me and helping me through this trauma that you're going to put him out of business if you continue on this pace, you know? And no, that was just like the beginning of it, but it was like just the evolution of the continuation of that journey.
Right.
And she just was getting better and better and better. And I don't know, you know, we lost touch. She used to keep me updated every once in a while, and we lost touch, but she kept up with the TV therapy thing. And, you know,
that's awesome.
It was saving a life of a person who, you know, has mental issues. Again, tried to commit suicide 7 times. That's a big fucking deal, man.
That's incredible.
So, you know, through the human, we help the dog. So she called me to help her dog, but at the same token, we help her, which in turn she helps her dog. And what beautiful relationship is that?
And that must make it all worth it. It must be so fulfilling inside. You know, it's little moments like that, you know, where we all can get down. You know, but when you help someone else quite in that fashion that you had painted, it makes it all worth it. Makes you slow down and appreciate the simple things.
It's one of the great things about dogs, man, because people want to help their dogs who has, it's not about the bad behaviors, you know, the jumping and the biting, or it's more like when a dog, and these are the cases that I really love, is when a dog is mentally suffering. And I say this all the time, like God bless the rescues, like we talked about 11th hour, they saved the body of the dog, and God bless them for doing all that stuff. But oftentimes, like, dogs are still like mentally suffering. They're mentally in pain. And sometimes, if not most of the time, mental/emotional pain is worse than physical pain. So yeah, we're saving the body, and God bless those rescues because they're doing that part. But what I love to do, why Packman to the rescue is so important, is because we save the brain, we save the mind, we save the emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we make them whole on the emotional side. And in this kind of case is something that's like, this dog was not misbehaving. This dog was not causing any trouble. This dog was suffering.
Right.
So here's this lady who's also suffering. And she's like, I need help to help my dog not suffer. But when we fix the source of the suffering, we also fix a person who's suffering as well. We're fixing both.
Right.
You know? Right. So it's a beautiful thing. So that's why it's so important to focus on training people, not training dogs, because if you do that, you save both, man.
Wow. What a great way to circle it back. And just like you say all the time, we're training people, we're not training the dogs. But yeah, no, when you say it like that for a story like that, it makes complete sense. If you were unsure why he says that all the time, you know, it's very important to work with the person, you know, than it is to, like you said, it's like a movie, right? It's like you're either trying to fix a mirror, right? That's just like only going to reflect the movie right back to you, or you're going to fix the movie itself. So that, you know, when that mirror does become fixed, that everything works in symmetry.
Beautiful word, Jordan.
So that just blows my mind how you brought it right back to the beginning there with that really drives home the importance here of working with people and not the dogs. That's awesome. What an amazing story.
And it ties in with the heroics, Jordan, of Italy winning the world, the European National Championship or whatever that's called. Ole, Forza Italia, yay!
Wow.
And we talked about rice balls. You know, we were like all over the place as always.
We talked Spayed and Neutered. We talked heroes. We talked Italy. That was an amazing story. That's going to sit with me for a while. You know, when you hear something or, you know, you read something and it kind of sits with you for a couple of days and you'll just be at a coffee shop and you'll think of it again. I'm going to think of that story that you just shared with me. It's going to stick with me for a little bit. Now, that was awesome. So
you share some good stories, man.
Thank you for sharing that story with me. And that was an amazing one. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's your first time here, and you haven't liked or subscribed yet, what are you doing? Get down there, subscribe, like. If you're on YouTube and if you're not on YouTube and you want to see us on YouTube, then get to YouTube and check out these lovely faces here. Like and subscribe over there on YouTube. Yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing?
Well, listen, guys, it comes to a close as all good things come to an end. It's the end of this particular episode. My man, Jordan, thank you for joining. I had fun. You are the man. Guys, if you have any questions for myself, dog related or whatever related, you have any questions with Jordan, you want to know about Jordan, let us know. Hit us up. Jordan will be on more podcasts. Don't you worry. Woo. And guys, thank you for joining Barking for Balance on this episode, the special episode. Jordan, thank you as well. Anything else you want to close out with?
Yeah, Pat, no, I just wanted to thank you again for having me on. It's an absolute treat to sit here and talk with you and talk all things dogs and all things people. I like talking people, you like talking dogs, and we get along really well with that relationship.
Fist it up,
and
baby.
guys, like we say always, we train the people and we do not train the dogs. If you're a dog and you're listening, we'll get off because we need to train the people so that then they can train you. Okay, this is not a podcast for dogs. This is a podcast for the people who like dogs and want to learn more things about dogs. Okay, so thanks for sticking around. We had a lot of good fun from my friend Pat Burda, Jordan Kern, signing off. Until next time, guys, thanks so much.
I am Pat the Packman. You heard the man. Catch you guys next time on Barking for Balance. Peace out.